Some might think I got the short straw, but I think I got the sparkliest straw of them all. Let me get out my handy-dandy notebook. And so what I'm going to talk about is Wesleyan structure and polity. And I know it sounds boring, but I did not grow up Wesleyan, as many people have already said. And so one of the most confusing things that I found with the Wesleyan church are the words. I grew up Baptist. Alan used a word that I had never heard before coming to the Wesleyan church, and that is the discipline. The discipline is the book that the Wesleyan church uses that describes the structure of the church, how the church is to function, what the church believes. It is not a question about what the Wesleyan church believes. You don't have to question that. It is written down eloquently and scripturally. This is a physical copy. There is a PDF online. I would encourage you to look at it if you have any questions about what the church believes or structurally how it is built. And so that's kind of what I'm going to talk about quickly here, is the structure of the Wesleyan church. I grew up Baptist, where the church was its own church, and it was loosely connected to other churches. The Wesleyan church, as Pastor Allen kind of mentioned, Wesley was very structured. And so the Wesleyan church has a definitive structure to it. We have the local church body, which we are, and then multiple local church bodies are part of a district. Each district has a superintendent. We have met our superintendent. I unbiasedly think he's one of the best. Dr. Matt Pickering, he's actually preached here a few times. And so this district is in charge of confirming pastors. They guide and direct not only spiritually, but also in manners of how the church is to function. So that's kind of the purpose of a district, and then you take that one step higher, and that's the general Wesleyan Church of the United States and Canada. And then you can go more global. So there's a very nice structure to the Wesleyan Church. And at each level, there are different representatives as well. So we have representatives at the district. The district has representatives at the general, and so on and so forth. So it just kind of gives you, I wanted to just give you an idea that there is a nice structure to it and how it functions as a church, spiritually, but also day-to-day basis, can be found in the discipline. It is a good read if you want to go to sleep. But no, it actually is very interesting, and Alan quoted some of it straight out of the discipline and what the Wesleyan Church believes. One of the things I really appreciate about the Wesleyan Church is the intention they put behind ordination of pastors. I had the privilege of going to the ordination of Pastor Justin and Pastor Hannah, and it's a beautiful thing. It is not taken lightly. Some denominations have a more loose guidance in who is allowed to pastor a church. The Wesleyan Church takes pastors through the ringer to see what they believe, if they have a divine call to preach and become a pastor. Do they have the grace of God living in them? Do they have the fruit of the Spirit? They are licensed and fully recognized by the conference. And so we have 2 pastors that have been ordained in our reverends now in the Wesleyan Church. And how does that happen? What do they have to go through? And how do you figure that out? The discipline. The other thing I just am going to cover kind of briefly is what we use on I wouldn't say a day-to-day basis, but I would say maybe a weekly basis, is that as we function as a church, we collectively, as the church, meet once a year in the local church Conference, or LCC. That was another three-letter phrase. I had no idea what it meant. Oh, the LCC's coming up. Okay. But the LCC is basically like the annual meeting where stuff is presented to the church. If you are a member, you can vote on things presented to the church. If pastors are called to the church, you can vote at a special meeting of a church conference. That's annually. We, as an LBA, I say that we because I am on the board of administration. LBA is another three-letter moniker that I had no idea what it meant when I first got here, but the local board of administration. Those are people elected by the church annually to serve for a year, to basically do the work of the church in that year, to talk through finances, budget, vision that the pastors are setting, and kind of talking through those ideas. We meet on a monthly basis. The discipline says you have to meet at least once a quarter. But that's kind of the overall structure of the church. And it is very different than other churches. And I just wanted to mention that structure and some of the names you'll hear. And I can't say this enough. I would say there's no gray area. The discipline really does line things out for you. Now, I'm holding this up like scripture. That is not what I mean by this, but this is just basically how the Wesleyan church functions, what it believes, and how it does church.